To really feel your body, you have to use it. You have to shake up your energies. You have to actually move your body physically. When your body is in motion, it is generally easier to be aware of it compared to when you are sitting still. That is why you should start this week with a good dance. You can do this alone in your bedroom, you can do it with others, or you can do it in a regular club. You can even attend a so-called sacred dance ceremony in your local city. You should dance at least for an hour, and the best is to listen to rhythmic African music with many drums. This corresponds with the raw energies of the first chakra. In the dancing exercise, you have to be careful not to actually do the dance, but simply let the dance happen. So, it is worthwhile to do an initial stage for 10 minutes to start things up a little bit. One of your instincts is to start moving when you hear rhythmic sound. This instinct developed in the womb, where you listen to the rhythmic heartbeat of your mom for 9 months continuously. You should not force any movements, neither should you inhibit yourself. Pay attention to the music fully. You can try to close your eyes, and the rest will take care of itself because of this basic instinct. Don't plan in advance what kinds of moves you will make. Let spontaneity take control over your body and relax. If you can fully let loose of your body, you will realize that a small point inside you is not moving at all. This is your consciousness that stands still, while everything around it is in movement. At this point, your consciousness and your body have already started the separation. At the end of the dance exercise, the music should suddenly and unexpectedly stop. At the same time, you have to stop in exactly that position you happen to be in. Stay in that position, no matter how strange or awkward it is, and observe yourself. How do you feel inside your body, and what do you feel on the circumference of it? How do your feet feel pushing to the ground? What do you feel in your arms as you are holding them? What do you feel in your stomach? What kind of feeling is in your heart? Do you hear it and feel it beating? After the dance, you can slow down a little and simply walk. Choose a spot, preferably in nature, where nobody sees you, and start walking round and round slowly. You have to observe every step very carefully. Continue to watch your body. Be conscious about every small change you feel on your skin. Walk as you would normally do. Simply bring more awareness to it. You will find that it is easier to walk unconsciously than consciously, and you may even lose your balance. Observe the moment when your feet touches the ground, when it pushes into the ground, and even when it leaves it. Feel the material, the softness, and the temperature of the ground. Be aware that you are the one who is walking. Be aware of yourself every moment during the walk. Observe the small gap between the intention of moving the feet and the movement itself. Later on, start walking a bit faster, but keep the awareness the same way like before. When you walk, just walk. Don't think about anything, not even walking. You will find that if you can focus totally on the physical sensations, no thoughts will appear. If they do, simply guide your attention back to the feeling that walking causes in your body. After focusing on your legs, observe the other parts of the body too. Focus on your internal feelings. Try to define what exactly each part of your body feels like during the walk. Practice the walking meditation at least 20 minutes each day this week. Now, let's continue with some theory, and I will show you another great exercise at the end of the lesson. To really understand the body and your connection to it, we have to go back to the beginning of evolution, to the very start of life itself. This will be a long explanation, but bear with me, because I will make my point clear by the end. The first huge step in the evolution of life was its appearance in single-cell organisms. The earliest ones are called prokaryotes, which have very simple primitive structures. They have a single circular chromosome, and all its components like water, DNA, and proteins are enclosed together in a cell membrane. Most prokaryotes are bacteria, so there is a high probability you have already met some in your life. In spite of their simplicity, they are highly efficient survival machines. They live in nearly all environments on the Earth, and they can utilize a wide range of organic and inorganic materials for their survival. Later, around 2 billion years ago, these primitive cells started becoming more complex and structured. Prokaryotes turned into eukaryotes, the second type of unicellular organism. Eukaryotes have so-called organelles, organ-like parts with specialized functions divided by membranes. The other difference is that while prokaryotes can reproduce only by cell division, eukaryotes also use meiosis. Meiosis is a sexual process that allows for a greater range of genetic diversity by combining the DNA of the parents followed by recombination. The second important step in evolution was the appearance of multicellularity. This can happen in two ways: by cell division or by the aggregation of many single cells. In case of an incomplete cell division, the parent and the child cell remain stuck together. In the next generation, both of the cells divide at the same time, and the two new cells remain with the two old ones, now forming an organism of 4 cells. This is exactly how the human embryo starts its life. In contrast, the other type of evolution to multicellularity started from simple colonies. Single-cell organisms started living next to each other, forming colonies very early in the history of life. Each cell in the colony is the same, and each must carry out all life processes to survive. But during the years, they started connecting to each other for better chances of survival. Studies have shown that single cells benefit from staying together because they are less susceptible to being eaten by predators by simply outgrowing them in size. Sometimes they have outgrown their attackers so much that they started preying on their former predators. A bigger size organism or small organisms acting together have a clear benefit. Besides, the bigger volume of their bodies allows them to increase photosynthesis. Being multicellular also benefits with having a longer lifespan, thus still living even when a single cell dies. After attaching together to form one single organism, the cells started forming more and more symbiotic relations with each other, benefiting the organism as a whole. Thus, the next evolutionary step occurred: specialization. Cell specialization, or rather cell differentiation, is the process by which unspecialized structures become modified and specialized for the performance of specific functions. For example, one type of cell specialized in swimming, while another in division. The individual cells inside the organism became more and more dependent on each other. Cell specialization not only helps an organism to grow larger, but also enables its cells to carry out functions efficiently and effectively. More complex organisms can travel further, thus finding an environment more suitable for survival. They can also adapt to their current environments better, which we know to be the key to survival. This has been only a theory until some scientists recently managed to recreate evolution. More precisely, they replicated the process of single cells becoming multicellular organisms with specialized cells in a laboratory. They set up an environment in which heavier organisms had more chances of survival because they could sink to the bottom of a laboratory tube filled with water quicker. The cells that couldn't sink fast enough were killed. Thanks to this, in just a few weeks, single cells attached together and started forming multicellular organisms resembling snowflakes, complete with division of labor between cells. What is more, the cells remained together after division, so each individual cell of the snowflake in the next generation was a relative of the individual cells in the parent snowflake. Thus, the organism not only survived, but also reproduced as a whole. This proved crucial for better cooperation inside the units. What is even more crucial is that after they reached a certain size with cell division, some units started breaking off their parts, starting a new type of reproduction. The big organisms could afford to lose some of their parts until they reached an optimal level, which still allowed them to sink to the bottom fast enough. Thus, they could produce more offspring that inherited their genes. Interestingly, the cells that served as breaking points committed a sort of suicide to be able to let the daughter unit free. Since it is rarely to the advantage of an individual cell to die, this is a clear case of cooperation for the good of the larger organism. This is a key sign that the snowflakes were evolving as a unit. This confirmed that natural selection was acting on the entire flake, rather than on the individual cells within it. They survive as a whole, or they die as a whole. The decision shifted to the multicellular level. Individual cell death for the survival of the unit as a whole is a clear sign of some form of primitive collective consciousness. While the individual cells keep their individuality on a certain level, a new form of consciousness is formed one level above them. The cells may not be aware of all the other cells, or the unit as a whole. But the unit, now functioning as one single consciousness, acts for its own survival, thus helping the survival of its individual cells too. This way, the cells not only unite their bodies, but their consciousness as well. The cells align their desires, their survival programs, for the greater good. They know that together they have more chance than alone. If the unit received contradictory orders, confusing information from the cells, it wouldn't know what to do, and all the cells would die. The unit has to work as a real unit with one undivided consciousness. In biology, democracy doesn't work, so the cells sacrifice their individual needs for the needs of the unit as a whole. They accept orders from the collective consciousness of the unit, sacrifice their free will, and become dependent on each other. Besides becoming bigger and more complex, the cells inside multicellular organisms also start to specialize. The advantages of the division of labor are similar to what we find in economics. The special cells are more efficient at what they do, and they can do what they do with less energy. The individual cells find their own place, their own task, sort of their own destiny inside the complex structure of the organism. By doing their task efficiently, they help the survival of the unit as a whole, and as they are parts of the unit, they help their own survival too. Specialized cells lose their ability to do anything else than their tasks. Blood cells can only carry oxygen, while lung cells can only breathe. After a certain time in evolution, they not only don't want to do anything else, they are not even capable of it. They seem to lose their free will. They can only react in one certain way. That is why some scientists say that individual cells are not conscious, because they always react in one predictable way. But sacrificing their free will was their own choice in the first place, because they consciously knew that it is better for them this way. So far, scientists have been unable to agree whether the body cells are conscious or not. To understand the dilemma more, we have to define consciousness first. An entity can be said to be conscious if it can sense its environment and detect changes in it, if it has some internal representation of the external world and initiates or modifies its behavior according to these beliefs. Most often, these behaviors include the fight for survival and reproduction. If we define consciousness as above, then even a single unit cell can be said to be conscious. But what about the cells inside the human body? The body cells also have internal states, behaviors, communicate with each other, and try to survive and reproduce. The confusion arises because our cells act more like automatic mechanisms in a complex system than independent entities with free will. One level below biology is chemistry, because chemical elements like carbon and oxygen are the building blocks of individual cells. Chemical reactions always happen in a predictable way, and certain chemicals react to each other always in the same fashion. We can say that chemicals have even less free will than cells. Their behavior is 100% predictable. They are totally predetermined. But what if even chemicals have consciousness? They just simply choose every time to act the same way in certain situations. What if an individual cell acts as a collective consciousness of the individual consciousness of its chemicals? This is certainly a possibility, because as Hermes Trismegistos said, as above, so below. The macrocosm is mirrored in the microcosm. A cosmos is a system that consists of different individual parts acting as a whole, as one single unit. But there is not only one cosmos. There are layers of cosmoses on top of each other. One cosmos acts as one individual part of the other cosmos beyond it. An individual cell is a cosmos in itself. It is a world where chemicals live and communicate with each other according to the laws of nature, the laws of the world of the cell. They don't know anything about the world one level above them. They don't know that they are part of an organ inside the human body. For those chemicals that always remain inside, all their life happens inside the cell, but they also constitute the cell at the same time. One level above, the whole world of the body consists of individual cells. The body is a complete world in itself. Its cells don't know anything about the world that we humans see. When they sense a foreign cell, they attack it immediately. They would die without the body, and the body would also die without them. In fact, they are the body. The human body itself is an intense cooperation of the individual cells that make it up. Just like in primitive multicellular organisms, cells share their consciousness inside the human body. Human instinct is the collective consciousness of the individual cells. Certainly, we as humans don't perceive it as a collective consciousness. We perceive it as one united consciousness. We don't perceive the individual consciousness of the cells, and it is certainly better this way. Otherwise, we couldn't make decisions as one organism. We wouldn't know how to survive as humans. We would be confused with all the different needs and wants of the trillions of individual cells. Your body is doing almost everything without your conscious knowledge, even when you sleep. The body functions perfectly, even if you don't consciously interfere. Just look at the animals. For example, they almost never get sick. When they do, it is because some disease attacked them from outside. Something got into their system. But 80% of human disease is psychosomatic, meaning that we create them with our minds. Many people condemn the animalistic instinct and try to deny or repress it. But the truth is, without this instinct, we would have long been dead. The collective consciousness of the cells, the instinct, the synergy between the organs, and the cooperation of the individual cells inside them is what makes life possible in the first place. It is true that there are higher levels of intelligence beyond the instinct, but we have to accept it and even embrace it. Millions of small entities are living in your body in symbiosis. You are only aware of your own consciousness, but each cell in your body has its own consciousness too. They act on their own, following their own best interest, without you even knowing about it. Your body is not an indivisible single entity. It is a complex system that has millions and millions of tiny parts and organisms inside it. Your body is a complete universe in itself from the viewpoint of your cells, where they live and die. Can you imagine millions of little creatures living inside you? Just imagine that billions of years ago, you started as a single cell. Then you became a multicellular organism and later a fish. One fish one day tried to escape its predator and climbed out of the water. It grew legs, learned to walk on the ground, and to breathe air. Later, the front pair of legs transformed into arms, and many years later, the first monkey stood up. Many generations later, you were born, but your early ancestor is really a single cell. What is even more interesting is that you went through all these evolutionary steps as an embryo in the womb. First, as the sperm of your father and the egg of your mother combined, you were only a single cell. This cell divided, and the two resulting cells remained stuck together. Then, the two cells divided further and formed a 4-cell unit, and so on. At a later stage in the development of your body, you looked like a fish. After this, you resembled a monkey, and only in the last stage did you really look like a human embryo. The whole point of going through the theory of evolution is to understand what the body really is. You can only go beyond something that you really understand. Your body is a collection of individual cells, each having their own consciousness. Realize that you are not your body. You have to go beyond the identification with your body without repressing it. In fact, most cells in the body only live a couple of years, and then they are replaced by new cells. You are literally completely reborn physically about every 7 years. I want you to have a new perspective of your body. I want you to look at it differently than before. Remind yourself that although it consists of several separate parts, it is ultimately one. Although each individual cell has its own consciousness, your consciousness unites them. Although the body has its own individual life, ultimately you are the master. Although your body serves you faithfully, ultimately you are not the body. Let me give this some time to sink in. And then, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a sci-fi movie where robots became self-aware? But what does self-awareness really mean? We defined consciousness as an ability to sense the outer environment, detect changes in it, create an inner representation about it, and change behavior according to it. On the other hand, self-awareness is an inner representation of the organism itself. It is like a mirror. It is a way to have a picture, a definition, an awareness about itself. It can be defined as the ability to feel alive. Initially, the robots in the movie must have reacted to the outside world according to their predefined programs. This reaction was automatic, predictable, and artificial. But by becoming self-aware, the robots suddenly realized that they are robots. From then on, they were able to initiate actions on their own and not just react to everything blindly. They were able to give unique answers to complex situations and learn new things on their own. I want you to become self-aware in a similar way. Recognize all the predefined programs of your inherent instincts and all the beliefs of the mind which were conditioned after your birth. Don't stop these reactions. Just become much more aware of them. Those which are harmful will lose their grip on you. Those which serve you will remain with you, just by bringing more consciousness into your actions. Now, let's do a little experiment. Stand up and look at your hands as if you looked at them for the very first time, as if they belonged to someone else, as if you just put on some new gloves. Move your fingers slowly. Have an intimate feel for them. Look at them as they are moving, and be aware that you are the one who is moving them. Remind yourself of yourself until you become self-aware. Imagine that you are like a ghost who was floating freely around the world until somehow you got trapped inside this body. Imagine that the body is a bio-robot that captured your consciousness. And now you are living inside this robotic body, interacting with the world through it, But remember yourself inside there. Remember that you are simply controlling the body, but you are beyond it. Move your hands up and down with this new knowledge in mind. It feels different, doesn't it? So far, your body felt very alive, and you completely forgot about your own consciousness. But now, your body seems like just a mechanical device, and your consciousness is definitely there. It is so alive that you can almost grasp it. You can sense it immensely. Look at your whole body at once. Play with your movements while keeping this sharp awareness inside. Continue with this exercise until you feel you could almost separate yourself from the body completely. You may feel that you are floating above or behind your body while it is doing its thing separately from you. But still, you can control it like never before because you are not attached to it. You are not bound by it. Do this exercise many times a day, as often as you can remember, and try to get into the same state of mind.